you say the main differences are between an osteopath and a physio, and what are the differences in sort of like treatments and stuff? Like, why would you go and see an osteopath in favor of a physio, and why is that so important for sports people?
Oh, there's a controversial question for you, so I have to choose my words carefully here. Obviously,
Yeah, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying what sort of things differ.
I was about to say, obviously, osteopathy is better than physiotherapy.
Fair enough.
But no.
Well, you've let your biases be known at least. So
absolutely. No. So, all joking aside, they're both protected titles. So, you can only call yourself a physiotherapist or an osteopath if you have a degree. The physios are governed by the HPC, and I can never remember what that stands for, but the osteopaths are governed by the General Osteopathic Council. The main difference, apart from the name, is that physiotherapists tend to be more exercise rehab related. So it kind of came out of people that have various injuries, had operations, that side of things. So it's getting them back to performance, whether that's a member of the public or whether that's an athlete. So their approach tends to be very exercise based. Having said that, like whenever you're a physical therapist and you're a good one, you'll kind of look around and see what else is out there. So there's lots of training you can do in addition to the basic training that you get. The main difference with osteopathy is that we just have a different approach to getting somebody better. So I've seen quite a few muscle and joint problems, and I will. So part of the case history taking is all of the case history taking is important. So what we'll look at is not just what the problem is, because that can sometimes just be a symptom. We'll also look at age, fitness levels, diet, sleep. It's what they call holistic. I think holistic is an overused word, but actually we take everything into account. And then before we come up with a treatment, I mean, an example of that, and one of the things I see quite a lot is people with ongoing knee pain. Now, if you've got a knee issue, but you've never had a trip or a fall or any kind of injury to the knee, it just starts to hurt, there's a good chance that knee pain is just a symptom. So one of the things that I see quite a lot is where somebody's had a severe ankle sprain. So you've had a severe ankle sprain. Basically, what can happen? The outer part. I'm pointing at my shin there. The outer part of
that's fine.
The outer part of the lower leg is the fibula. Yeah. So you got the fibula on the outside. That forms the outside part of the ankle. Now, if somebody's had a severe ankle sprain, what can happen is that fibula can shift slightly. And if that fibula shifts slightly, it can then put different tension through the knee joint, and the knee can start to suffer. But the knee pain is not actually the problem. It's a symptom of the problem. But unless you address what's going on with the ankle, you may be able to get rid of the knee pain, but it's temporary, and there's a good chance that the pain will come back because the problem isn't the knee, the problem is the ankle. So we tend to look at a whole picture and try and resolve the whole picture. Now, it's a limitation with NHS physios is that if you go and see an NHS physio, they're not allowed to diagnose. As an osteopath, I can diagnose. So if you come see me with a problem, I can actually work out what the problem is and treat that. If you're an NHS physio, you have to do what the doctor refers. So if the GP refers you to an NHS physio with a knee problem, you get up to 6 treatments on the knee. Now, if that knee problem is caused by an ankle issue or potentially a hip issue, they may be able to relieve some of the pain from the knee, but actually it's not solving the problem. So there's a good chance that problem will come back. So in a nutshell, osteopaths, we tend to think more holistically. We look at the body and how the body moves rather than just the bit that hurts. There you go.
Cool. Yeah. That's very good. I know that, I was pretty close to considering, I was definitely considering, I was pretty close to going on to uni to study physiotherapy, and I know that they like to call it a very holistic approach. I didn't know that they couldn't diagnose though, so I guess that is a pretty big limitation of what they can do, because as much as they can try and identify a problem, they can't for sort of
Uh,
certain.
Sorry, just to refine that a little bit. Now,
Cool.
NHS physios can't diagnose. Now, I don't know about private physios. I suspect that they can,
Right.
but my understanding is that if a GP needs to get involved, then a physio cannot refer or cannot give them a diagnosis. I think that's how it works. I'm not exactly sure because, like I said, my lenses are blinkered towards the osteopathy side of things, so I'm not exactly sure of the physio process. But
Right.
in
Yeah.
so in the
I
private
mean,
world, yeah, go on.
just as just in my personal experience, anytime I've gone to see a physio, they've always referred me outside of themselves to then do the diagnosis. So like always be an X-ray or something done by a doctor or something to be
Okay.
able to actually diagnose the issue. So I think I don't know if they can or can't, but normally they don't. In my own personal experience, I'm not sure if they will or won't.
Yeah.
Just in general, but
So do you have physios dedicated to the gymnastics squad, or do you go out into the real world to get
it's a bit
treatment?
weird. So if you are on the APA, which is a form of funding for, oh, I'm going a bit broader than the scope of this podcast, but it's fine.
Well, but we did say we were going to go all over the place, so that's fine. Yeah,
It's a little bit all over, but it's fine.
yeah, yeah,
So if you're on the APA, which is the funding program run by British Gymnastics, then you can get physio, S&C coaching, psychology, nutrition through British Gymnastics. So it's all gymnastics specific people.
yeah,
But then if you're not, but you're still on the GB program, but you're just not on funding, then you get it through something called TAS, Talented Athlete Support Scheme, which is like a multi-sport thing. So it's run through individual universities. So I go to Walsall campus in for the University of Wolverhampton. So I go to Walsall if I
yeah,
need to do S&C or physio or whatever else I need. And they do it. So it's sport specific, but it's not gymnastics specific,
yeah,
which I guess sometimes helps because they've got a broader perspective in terms of they won't just look at the gymnastics specific problems, but also having that knowledge about the gymnastics specific problems is very helpful because, I mean, I'm a gymnast. So,
that
yeah,
makes sense.
it's one of them.
Yeah,
But some people will have gymnastics specifics, some people won't as gymnasts. I know there are some private physios. I know a great one, Louise, who's based pretty close to here in Birmingham. But yeah, she's independent, but she does a lot of gymnasts. So
yeah,
there will be some sort of ones, but in terms of getting it for free based on a British gymnastics program, it's either you have to be on the British gymnastics program unless you're like Welsh or Scottish, and I know they have different programs. So you have to be on the British gymnastics program to get either TAS or the British gymnastics specific stuff, but then
okay,
you only get the gymnastics specific stuff if you're on the funding.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's quite interesting when you talk about gymnastics specific injuries because yeah, I was going to say yeah. So I just treat injuries as injuries. I just treat pain as pain. So I don't. I think yes, there will be specific things that tend to affect gymnasts, but generally speaking, if you've got an overall perspective on it's just this is the body, this is how it moves, then you can treat anything. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I mentioned that I by coincidence a rhythmic gymnast knocked on my door the other week,
Yeah.
and and because rhythmic gymnasts are so flexible and have so much mobility, they were getting low back pain, recurring low back pain on a fairly regular basis. And I thought, okay, so let's have a look and see what's going on. Did the history as you do, and then did all the standard tests. And I thought, okay, there's something not quite right here. And it turned out that they'd had a long-standing low back flexibility issue, which then seemed to be related more to hip mobility. Because I thought, okay, let's do a couple of hip mobility exercises and see what happens. And I was just amazed that they couldn't do them. And I thought, okay. And this is somebody that's been trained, they were 18, they've been training since they were 4. And nobody picked up on it at all. It's like I said. So the way I tend to work is I tend to look very holistically. So it's not just the bit that hurts. So in this case, it was low back pain. So okay, let's see what the back's doing. But actually, because everything, one of the mantras of osteopathy is that everything is connected to everything else. So I thought, okay, the back, yeah, decent amount of movement in there, it's not too bad. But actually, let's look at the hips and see what the hips are doing. And that was the key. So yeah, we need to work on hip mobility, sort the hip mobility out. That should sort out the low back pain. So yeah, there are advantages to actually just looking at the bigger picture. And there's a few other examples that are around that I could give you, but I won't because we haven't got enough time.
Yeah. My point being, with the gymnastics specific, is more that they'll know the sort of movements that you're doing on a day-to-day basis more.
Yeah,
I suppose. But yeah, there are benefits and drawbacks to both.